This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen Gipp, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news.
Cyclone Alfred hit southeast Queensland on the 7th and 8th of March 2025, resulting in widespread damage. Major disruptions included shopping centre closures, flooded rivers, and road closures. The early forecast of the event raises speculation about its origin. UNN Field Messenger Keza M. reports from the scene.
G'day, this is Keza M at Tambourine Superfoods Farm reporting for United Network News. Well, today's report is on Cyclone Alfred. I am actually standing in the middle of Cyclone Alfred. Well, man, have we got some carnage. Clean-up week this week. Basically, we had a Cyclone 2. It passed Brisbane. It went down further south and the powers that be actually turned it around, sending hurricane winds through our properties and, of course, creating carnage. The clean-up begins. They've had power lines down all over the place, including our property. Our poor banana trees are sleeping. We've got geese. They're loving it. Have a look at the geese today. They're just thinking this is the best thing that could possibly happen, and they go swimming in the newly formed pond. This used to be the driveway between the house and the dam. We have trees on the other side of the property on the ground, so that will be massive clean-up. I just want to show you the force of the wind at the moment. We're just getting big gusts coming through. Last night they were 100 kilometres an hour. This is a swale that takes the overflow from Mount Tambourine, which you can see in the clouds up there. The overflow has overflowed. And even though it has only more or less rained for basically overnight and this morning, and you can see that it's barely raining now, we have massive amounts of water coming down from Tambourine. And there's our water chestnut garden, as you can see, ready to harvest. Oh, there is the rest of the garden. And our asparagus, there you go, there's our asparagus bed. Oh well, we'll find it one day. This one is a really big fix. We had an arborist come today to have a look to see how he was going to take this away. There are literally puddles of water absolutely everywhere, and when you look around the tunnel, this is what the tunnel is meant to look like. But let's go to the back where the tree is. Now, we do have a big power line that went down, and if you look closely, you can see it through the tunnel there. It's on top of the other tunnel, so we have no power on the property now due to that. So have a look at this damage. Woohoo! That's a ripper. And it is totally bent and not fixable, I would not think. Waves are at an unprecedented height. They're between 6 and 12 metres, and they've taken out the beaches for hundreds and hundreds of kilometres. And the beach that I take Marley Dog to, it happens to be this one. There's no sand left to walk on. It is absolute carnage everywhere in southeast Queensland, and unfortunately it is still going. It's not over yet. We're in the thick of it, and I'm sure we will have more trees falling on the property, more damage statewide. It's just a really tough time and a hard place to be with so much work to do in front of us. Anyway, Keza M, reporting for UNN. Have a wonderful week and be thinking of us. Over and out for now. Bye.
The Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents reportedly showed up at a Tucson elementary school, trying to arrest 3 students after detaining their parents earlier that day. The school staff refused to let them in. UNN Field Messenger Tom reports on the incident.
Hello everyone, this is Field Messenger Tom. So there was an incident that occurred in Tucson recently. and I had to do a little digging to figure out what was going on. So I was driving down 22nd Street, and there's a big park here in Tucson called the Reed Park and the Reed Park Zoo. Takes up a square mile. And I'm driving down 22nd next to this park, and there are hundreds of people protesting, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. A couple of days later, I heard ICE, or Immigration and Customs Enforcement, had showed up in Tucson and arrested a few folks, not that many. But then they went to a local elementary school in full tactical gear, wanting to arrest 3 students in the classrooms whose parents they'd arrested that morning. And so the principal of that school and the staff in the office denied them entry and said, you need a warrant if you're coming in here, and short of that, you're not doing anything on school property. If you want them, you have to wait till they leave school grounds. And the school board commemorated the principal and the staff for doing so. Well, immediately there was a bunch of pushback for the school board supporting that. So then the school board held a press conference and denied the incident, like it never, ever, ever happened. But during the press conference, they announced that they're going to have specialized training for the teachers now, because the teachers need to know how to deal with students whose friends have been deported by ICE. I don't know about you, but if the incident didn't occur, why do you need to create a training bulletin on that topic, right? But it's beyond the pale that anybody in any level of quote-unquote authority would go to an elementary school to arrest students that are 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. No, we don't do that. That's just not, in my opinion. That is my opinion. Thank you. Have a great day.
In a Nigerian local community, residents are tragically losing their homes and means of living. UNN Field Messenger Chukwudi Kingsley sheds light on their struggles.
Hi everyone, this is UNN Field Messenger Chukwudi Kingsley, reporting from Igbo land, the southeast of Nigeria. The people of Nchatancha of Enugu State of Nigeria are being chased out of their community by the Enugu State government. Their houses and farmlands are being demolished in this harsh economic situation of Nigeria. In this protest, they are calling on the federal government to intervene and call their state governor to order. This man in front of his house is a retired civil servant who served the government for 35 years. And while he was serving, there was housing contributions which they were making, and it was being deducted from their monthly salaries. But the house was not given to them. According to him, he had retired for the past 11 years, and government never gave him the house which he was making monthly payments for, nor did he receive his retirement gratuity. And now he is blind, but the little house which he struggled to build has been marked for demolition, and many other houses of his kinsmen were also marked for demolition, and they were given 7 days to vacate their ancestral homes. He said there is so much hunger in Nigeria, but their governor has destroyed all their cassava farms. This is Chukwudi Kingsley, UNN. Bye.
In the middle of Sudan's war-torn capital, Khartoum, everyday people are stepping up where international aid has failed. These grassroots heroes are running communal kitchens organized by neighborhood-based groups called emergency response rooms to make sure families don't go hungry. They're not just providing food, they're offering emotional support and a sense of community. But keeping these kitchens running is no easy task. Sudan's war, which broke out in April 2023 between the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, and the National Army, has triggered one of the worst hunger crises in the world. A recent report from the Netherlands shows nearly 10 million people have been displaced, with millions more on the brink of starvation. In Greater Khartoum, covering the capital and nearby cities, hunger has reached catastrophic levels. With little international aid making its way in, community-run kitchens have become a lifeline, often standing between people and the harsh reality of going without food.
When the fighting started in Omdurman, Sudan's most populous city, Ahmed Mohamed Ali refused to flee. He said he would rather die in his home than suffer the pain of long-term displacement. Along with other members of the community, they pooled their resources and began cooking and sharing meals for those who remained in the city.
Because we have very few resources, we created a WhatsApp group and a Facebook page. And we also have TikTok and started trying to spread awareness of what we were doing. Then we started receiving donations from the Sudanese diaspora abroad.
With the city's economy in a state of collapse since Sudan's war started in April 2023, Ali says his makeshift soup kitchen now feeds 200 families every day, thanks to private donations. Others like it have sprung up across the city with almost no support from international aid groups.
A big part of the funding for these food kitchens comes from Sudanese living abroad, who send donations through diaspora networks and social media campaigns. Local businesses and generous individuals within Sudan also pitch in where they can. There are also some humanitarian groups, mainly smaller NGOs and unmanaged funds, are offering limited support. But even with these efforts, the need is still far greater than the resources available, making every donation crucial to keeping these life-saving kitchens running. According to Sudanese officials, there are currently more than 350 community kitchens in Sudan, providing meals to nearly 500,000 families every day.
Here in Omdurman, kitchens being available like this one, known as Khartoum Kitchen, means food for a family for the day.
If we cook here, we provide for more people. We may give out 5 kilos of lentils, and that would be enough for 2 days for a family. Cooking it here helps us feed more families, and we provide food daily. Some of our kitchens provide for up to 2,000 families.
Sudan's government says such initiatives are welcome to ease the needs of civilians affected by the conflict.
What matters is that it provides help to the citizens because our capability as government is extremely limited. Kitchens are directly tied to the communities. We coordinate with them and are open to all the initiatives. We are trying to develop kitchens from waiting in lines to serving them in their homes.
As fighting continues, the number of those in need of food supplies is increasing. For many here, waiting in line is the only thing that keeps them from starving, at least for one day.
International aid is essentially blocked, and food aid is not getting through to the Sudanese people. Both the Sudanese army and RSF are restricting access, and aid convoys are still looted and turned away. Attacks on aid workers have forced many organizations to pull out, and destroyed roads, bridges, and banks are making transportation and funding even tougher. On top of that, the RSF controls important trade routes and has been accused of diverting or selling aid instead of letting it reach to the people who need it most.
Many communal kitchens are operated by a loose network of community groups known as emergency response rooms. Both the Army and RSF distrust them. That's because they include people who were members of grassroots resistance committees that led pro-democracy protests in 2019. That uprising toppled former autocrat Omar al-Bashir. The army joined forces with the RSF to stage a military coup 2 years later, but rivalries between them erupted into open warfare in April 2023. The RSF has previously denied targeting aid workers. It said any rogue elements who did so would be brought to justice. The military has also said it does not target aid workers. However, it says anyone who collaborates with the RSF is subject to arrest. A UN fact-finding mission has said that 65 cases tried by Army-convened courts against alleged commanders and employees of the RSF as of June, 63 targeted activists and humanitarian workers. They include members of emergency response rooms, the mission said in its report. Meanwhile, hunger is spreading. UN officials say more than 25.6 million people, more than half Sudan's population, are experiencing acute hunger and need urgent assistance.
These kitchens aren't just about filling empty stomachs. They're about preserving dignity, fostering resilience, and keeping communities together. They're built on Sudan's deep-rooted culture of helping one another, especially through Nafir, a powerful tradition of collective mobilization. When aid organizations failed to show up, volunteers stepped in, determined to make a difference. In the face of war and famine, the people of Sudan are proving that community and solidarity can shine even in the darkest times.
In Singleton, Australia, a large number of 5G towers have been installed. UNN Field Messenger John ponders why such a small town would need so many towers.
G'day everyone, my name is John Gruen, Field Messenger for United Network News, reporting to you from Singleton in the Hunter Valley of New South Wales, Australia. Today I'm taking you on a brief guided tour of Singleton and surrounding areas to showcase the alarming and rapid proliferation of 5G towers, cell towers, and perhaps to look at possible reasons for this recent proliferation, because we now have about officially 47 5G capable cell towers located in an area covered by our postcode or zip code, as you may call it, and about 23,000 people reside within this area. Now, you might be asking yourself, why would a small community of 23,000 people suddenly need 47 5G cell towers and associated technology? Well, one possible reason for the existence of this technology might be the planned establishment of what are called 15-minute neighborhoods throughout the Hunter Valley. The 15-minute neighborhood concept was announced not long ago in a publicly accessible document called the Hunter Regional Plan 2041. And you can find that plan online as long as you make the effort to locate it. So getting back to my question about the kind of society that values a brutalistic style of architecture, my answer is simply a technocratic society. That is a society that welcomes both physical and digital enslavement. This is where form meets function. And that's because the cold regard of the technocrat is perfectly aligned with the cold regard of the brutalistic architects. And between them, they are planning to house countless thousands to millions, perhaps billions of people globally in what is, in effect, will be 15-minute districts, neighborhoods, cities, or what I simply call battery farms for humans. I'm John Gruen, Field Messenger for United Network News. Thank you for watching.
Step into a world of possibilities with New Earth, a groundbreaking series that shines light on holistic ways to live, work, and thrive. Join us weekly to discover new innovative ideas and explore the world around us as we, together, create our future, our New Earth.
Virtual assistants like Siri, Alexa, and Google have revolutionized convenience, handling tasks with simple voice commands. But have you ever noticed ads strangely tied to your private conversations? You're not alone. While these tools make life easier, they've also sparked privacy concerns, raising the question, are we trading too much of our privacy for the convenience of a hands-free assistant? This issue becomes even more concerning when you consider how these devices work. Voice assistants are always listening for wake words like, "Hey Siri," or "Alexa," meaning they can pick up conversations even when not activated. While companies claim recordings aren't stored or analyzed without the wake word, mistakes happen and private conversations have been recorded. Research from 2020 found smart speakers like Siri and Alexa can be accidentally activated by TV shows or similar sounding phrases. In the study, devices were triggered nearly once per hour, with some activations lasting more than 10 seconds. Voice assistants record your commands and send them to cloud servers, often storing the data to improve accuracy. This can include sensitive information like your location or personal conversations, creating privacy risks. These devices also connect with third-party apps, which may share your data and increase privacy breaches.
Just how smart is your smart speaker? Omar Iqbal, an assistant professor of computer science and engineering at Washington University in St. Louis, decided to find out. So Iqbal and his collaborators designed a study measuring the collection, usage, and sharing of Amazon Echo interaction data.
And Amazon uses this data to infer certain characteristics about the user. And then they can potentially market them products.
They also found that Amazon did not clearly disclose interactions for the purposes of ad targeting.
We did not find clear statements on how smart speaker data is used. But once we released our findings, Amazon later on updated their disclosures that they use user smart speaker interactions to infer their interests. Then they may use that data to target them advertisement.
To enhance performance, companies sometimes use human reviewers to listen to recordings. Back in 2019, a Guardian investigation revealed Apple contractors were listening to Siri recordings for quality control. These included sensitive details like medical info and private conversations without users being clearly informed. Most users had no idea their conversations were being reviewed, and after public backlash, Apple temporarily stopped the practice. That same year, Apple faced a class action lawsuit claiming Siri recorded users without consent and that these recordings were shared with third parties. Although the case was initially dismissed, it was reopened in 2021. With claims Siri often captured private conversations due to accidental activations. While Apple denies wrongdoing, they reached a settlement that received preliminary approval. Final approval is expected in August 2025.
These things are eavesdropping on us from our smartphones, our smart watches, our smart speakers, our smart screens.
The accusations leveled against Apple are serious. Its devices, listening, and sharing our most personal information with third parties.
Hey Siri.
Even if you've never used Siri.
Some conversations were allegedly shared with advertisers. The suit alleges Apple secretly activated Siri to record conversations through the iPhone and other devices for more than a decade.
Apple agreed to pay $95 million US to settle the American lawsuit out of court, a tiny amount for a tech giant whose value on the stock market exceeds $3.6 trillion. A company whose marketing calls privacy a fundamental human right and one of its core principles.
We have integrated it deep into your iPhone, iPad, and Mac, and throughout your apps, so it's aware of your personal data without collecting your personal data.
This potential slap on the wrist comes as Apple and every major tech firm rolls out their most transformative updates.
They are all in the process of undergoing what is essentially an AI brain transplant. Siri, Google Assistant, Alexa are all getting new powers.
If the settlement is approved, tens of millions of U.S. consumers who owned iPhones and Apple devices as early as mid-September 2014 could get up to $20 per device, and legal action in Canada could follow suit.
I feel like the impact is probably greater than the payout.
In 2021, Amazon faced a lawsuit over claims Alexa accidentally recorded conversations triggered by words like unacceptable and election. Healthcare workers also sued Amazon, alleging Alexa recorded private patient conversations, violating confidentiality. The lawsuit highlighted concerns about Amazon not being transparent about how Alexa records and analyzes interactions. Google has faced similar privacy issues. In 2019, a Belgian news outlet revealed Google's employees were listening to audio from Google Home and Assistant, even without the wake words, "Hey Google," or "Okay Google." These recordings included personal moments like bedroom chats, parent-child talks, and work calls. In 2023, Google faced a class action lawsuit over claims Google Assistant recorded conversations without consent and shared the audio with third parties. These cases show privacy laws haven't caught up with the rise of smart devices. So it's up to us to stay cautious and protect our data. If you do decide to use a voice assistant, make sure you consider whether it's truly necessary and follow these tips to protect yourself.
Smart speakers like Amazon Echo and Google Home are always listening for their wake word and could potentially record more than you intend. Go into your device's settings and delete voice recordings periodically. Both Amazon and Google offer this feature. Mute the microphone when not in use and consider setting up a separate network for your smart devices to limit exposure. Amazon Echo allows you to set voice recordings to automatically delete after 3 or 18 months. Google Home offers similar options. Review and manage your voice data in the Amazon Alexa app or Google Home app. Be mindful of what commands you give and avoid discussing sensitive information near these devices.
So, what's the verdict? Are voice assistants your helpful sidekicks or sneaky eavesdroppers? At the end of the day, they are undeniably convenient, but they come with significant privacy risks. If you're keeping them around, just remember, a little caution can go a long way in keeping your private life, well, private. Plastics have transformed our lives, but they've left behind a massive environmental mess. That's why bioplastics, made from things like plant starch and algae, are pushed as a greener alternative, showing up in everything from food packaging to medical implants. But are they really the solution, or do they come with their own issues? The term bioplastics can be pretty confusing. They're often called eco-friendly, but they're usually only bio-based or biodegradable, not always both. According to the Beyond Plastic website, bioplastics don't have a clear definition and could mean anything from bio-based and biodegradable to compostable, or even plastic that's partly made from fossil fuels. Bio-based plastics are made from crops like corn or sugarcane, but that doesn't make them automatically biodegradable or compostable. Growing these crops can harm the environment too, with fertilizers and pesticides polluting soil and water, causing issues like algae blooms and fish deaths. Many bioplastics need industrial composting to break down properly, but those facilities aren't widely available. Companies often market bioplastics as eco-friendly, but the reality is they can still strain resources, compete with food crops, and lead to deforestation, misleading consumers about their true environmental impact.
Bioplastics or sugarcane plastic are not the step forward we think they are. Polyethylene, the typical plastic that you think of, that most things are made of, is made from something called ethylene, which originates in fossil fuels. Sugarcane plastics have exactly the same process, but they start with sugarcane-based ethanol, which is then processed into ethylene, and then we have polyethylene. So the chemical structure of the plastic is exactly the same, which means it is no more biodegradable or compostable than your bog standard plastic. The feedstock is slightly better in that it is not a fossil fuel, it's a renewable resource. If we were to switch all our plastic manufacturer over to sugarcane, we wouldn't have enough land. We're still left with the problem. That doesn't matter, because the problem we have with plastic, it's what we do with it afterwards. Because yes, it may be recyclable, but less than 7% of all the plastic ever made has ever been recycled. So finally, we come to my serious problem with sugarcane plastics, which is the idea of them being bio-based or sugarcane plastic sounds real friendly. And immediately you've got companies writing, "I'm made of plants" on the side of a cup, which means people think it's okay to use them and people think it's okay to try and throw them in compost, or they just assume they will biodegrade on the ground. They don't.
Bioplastics might use different plant materials instead of fossil fuels, but they also rely on a mix of chemicals, just like regular plastics. A 2020 study by scientists in Germany and Norway found most bioplastics and plant-based materials contain toxic chemicals, with some products having up to 20,000 chemical features. In fact, bioplastics and conventional plastics are similarly toxic. This shows the need to focus more on the safety of the chemicals used in all plastics. Many people assume chemicals in products are proven safe beforehand, but that's often not the case.
I was interviewing this researcher, Dr. Bethany Almroth. I'm going to get this correct. She's a professor of ecotoxicology and environmental science at the University of Gothenburg, Sweden. And she mentioned in our interview that bio-based plastics made from plants instead of petrochemicals, are actually just as toxic as petroleum-based plastics. I always assumed that if you make a polymer out of potato or sugarcane or beets or corn, it would be less toxic than a plastic made out of fossil fuels. But she told me about this experiment that she did with her students where they took regular plastic cups and they took paper cups lined with PLA, which is a bioplastic, and they immersed them in fresh water for up to 4 weeks. And then they took that contaminated water and they put it in tanks with mosquito larvae. Some of them died, some of them didn't grow as quickly, some of them developed deformities. And the thing is, there was no difference in the instance of all of these things happening between the bio-based plastic contaminated water and the regular plastic contaminated water. Now, this was on mosquito larvae, not humans, so we need to do more experiments, but it's pretty alarming. The tea is that Dr. Almroth also told me that the European bioplastics industry really viciously attacked her and other researchers who were doing this kind of work. They even called up the university demanding that they retract the press release and the study. They didn't, but all of this is documented online.
What happens to bioplastics after we're done with them has a big impact on the environment. While they have some benefits over traditional plastics, they also come with challenges. Recycling bioplastics can be tricky because mixing them with regular plastics makes sorting and processing harder. Plus, most recycling facilities aren't set up to handle these materials properly. A 2022 report by the French Agency for Food, Environmental and Occupational Health and Safety found bio-based products might not fully break down in home compost and could release pollutants. Even plastics labeled as biodegradable or compostable can leave behind harmful substances and often require industrial facilities to decompose correctly.
The federal government says non-conventional bags will fall under its single-use plastic ban. The statement comes after a story last week where City News asked the feds to explain why the compostable bags were included in the upcoming plastic bag ban. In a statement, Environment and Climate Change Canada says the decision is rooted in science, saying, quote, the government of Canada's 2020 science assessment of plastic pollution found a significant lack of evidence that non-conventional plastics, including compostable plastics, will fully degrade in natural environments. It goes on to say many Canadian cities are not equipped with facilities to accept compostable plastics. Calgary is a city that can, and the city of Calgary is taking the side of a grocer which uses the bags, Co-op, sending this letter to the federal government in May explaining the company and the city work together on the innovative solution.
New technology is making bioplastics cheaper and more efficient, offering a greener alternative to traditional plastics. But to truly make an impact, we need better recycling systems, more composting facilities, and clearer disposal guidelines. With smarter regulations, consumer education, and investment, bioplastics can help create a more sustainable future. Are you ready to change the world? Take the next step and join our weekly Field Messenger meetings. Learn more at unitednetwork.earth. I am United Network News, and so are you.